So, quick fire round. Do I have any takers? I do indeed. There's a chap at the back. Stuart, can you get a microphone back there? Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, it's a question for Nigel, please. It's Andy Wheeler, Fisheries Business Advisor for East Riding Yorkshire Council. You mentioned about wanting to take more of a discussion with local fisheries going forward, and in the white paper it says that potentially fisheries management will be paid for by fisheries. Do you have a view on whether we can have local scientific-based evidence, or will we still look at a one-size-fits-all policy?
Not quite. That's it, you're on.
Is it working now?
Yes.
It is working.
It was lit up. You bring him in.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, the government has been thinking for some time about the issues that have that often have been put to government in relation to fisheries science and engagement with the industry. And that was one of the reasons why we put those questions in the white paper. As we move beyond Brexit and we are able to start to formulate our own fisheries management policies, what is the role that society should have in developing those? And we heard a lot about that from Mike. And I think, you know, as a government, we're very taken with that approach. So I think we need to look at what the responses are to the white paper. I think we have an open mind in relation to local science, local involvement in the science, and to inform decision making. And I think we do try very hard, even at the moment, to not have one size fits all. But we do need to also prioritise where our activities are. And we do need to prioritise where we get our science from. And I know that there are some really good examples, actually, particularly in England that I'm aware of, that, for example, the scallop fishing industry has been working very closely with government in improving science and sustainability in relation to scallop fishing in the Channel area. And that's a really good example of industry working together with scientists and working together with government. And my personal view is that we'd like to see more of that. There'll be a timing issue, how much we can do in the very near future, and how much we can do as part of developing new fisheries policies. But let's see what the government response to the white paper says. And but I will say that we do continue to listen to those concerns. I don't know whether Mike wants to add to that at all.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's always a place for not necessarily more science, but better science. But I think also that we are moving into an area now and an era whereby I don't think we can rely on government to provide everything all the time. And I think the industry, as it moves into greater profitability, will at some point have to actually pay in to actually correlation of science. But I don't think we need to leave everything to the scientists and industry itself. Over the years, one of the phrases we've always used is that every fishing vessel is a scientific platform. And I think we need to capture that more, and starting at the grassroots for me, and I guess government aligned with that, is the fact that it's a nice place to start. Let's build everyone into the process. And I talked earlier about paternalistic policies, top-down policies. If you can create them from the bottom up, the fishermen, you know, involved in the data collection, and actually sitting down to work out what policies you need to do to create a sensible fisheries management, then what you do is you get buy-in across the board. And for me, that's always a good thing.
Okay, thank you. There was another question, yes, behind Andy there. Stuart.
Thank you. Stuart McClanagan from Seafish. Question for Mike. A really thought-provoking presentation, Mike, and thank you for that. I'm sure we'd all share your vision where the spread of benefits to coastal areas and coastal communities are concerned. And indeed, clearly that's an important part of the sort of social responsibility. But given that quota and licences are treated as property and cannot be taken away, how can we best ensure that this element of your vision is achieved in future?
Thank you for that very interesting question. We've always said, in fact, I just completed a blog, or a vlog, I think. I'm not in the same generation as you, Stuart, but I think I just created a vlog last week whereby I said that, obviously, as we exit Europe, there are real challenges for the sector. And I think the landings obligation is one that I've highlighted that we need to solve immediately. And perhaps more fishing into the country solves that. But I come from a small fishing village in the northeast of Scotland where I learned my trade. It's got a population of 9,000 people, and when I was young, it used to have a fishing industry. There used to be vessels going out trawling, sea netting, which I did all my days was sea netting. And I think what we need to do is to create a formula so that we can extend the benefits of Brexit to these communities, because society voted for Brexit, and society has got to get something back from Brexit. And I think Greenpeace article this week about the big owners and all the rest of it is not necessarily true. But I think the industry itself understands that there's got to be a degree of compassion. And at the end of the day, everybody has got to benefit from Brexit. But it is a timing issue. And as I say, there are issues for the industry, first and foremost, with the landings obligation that we need to concentrate on. And once we get over that, work out how we can then allocate some of the resource to the coastal communities, the remote islands. And if you go up to Norway and Faroe, there are schemes in place there that protect the small communities. And I think, essentially, that's what we need to work towards.
Thank you, Mike. Oh, sorry, Andrew, please.
Still on?
Yeah.
If I could sort of comment on that as well. As I said, with regard to the Fisheries White Paper, the existing quota is locked, if you want, in that situation. But the whole thing about Brexit is it brings in additional quota, and there are additional measures within the White Paper, which I think give us the opportunity to start looking at community involvement and how that additional quota we are hopefully that's going to materialise is used. So I think that's the key issue, and I think that's where Brexit offers an opportunity to have a much more flexible fisheries management regime in the future going forward. And so I think that's where the big opportunity arises. And again, we saw the Greenpeace piece last week. Half-truths, I think, is the way I would put it. And I don't think anything in there prevents Brexit and what's coming in the White Paper allowing us to be creative, to allow the industry to manage its fishery, and to ensure that coastal communities get a fair share of what they voted for, as Mike says.
Okay, thank you. We're going to go Donna, I think.
Hi, it's about the export health certification. Real concern up in Scotland that there may not be the people to be able to service that. So the EHOs, at the moment, they really struggle to get the service. It's really a 24-hour, 7-day a week, and we're just working out there's 21 weeks left until the end of March. To ramp that up is not a lot of time. And also the cost implication of the health certifications. So, for example, in the salmon industry, they do about 50,000 health certificates. That's going to ramp up to 200,000, probably at a cost of £20 million a year. It's a huge expense going to be added on to the cost of exporting.
Nigel, I think that's one for you.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. I mean, we do recognise the challenges of this, and as I indicated in my presentation, government is certainly looking at the new challenges of increased use of export health certificates. All I would say in response to that is make sure that your voice is being heard. I'm sure it is, but make sure your voice is being heard not only within the Scottish Government, but also within central government. And I've got people here today who can take your details and we'll make sure that we feed those challenges in. We know that there are challenges, and we know that there's a lot of work to do. But the most important thing is that we are aware of those challenges. If there are regional problems, then we need to make sure that those are properly recognised. So if you speak to me or speak to any of my team, Matt and Paul will be here for most of the day, and we can make sure that we give you the opportunity to put those concerns direct to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Nigel. Time for one last question before we go to coffee, if there are any. There's one down the front here. Yes, sir.
Quick question. Obviously, everybody remembers the cod wars when our fishing industry used to fish up there. Without adequate maritime enforcement and monitoring, how are we going to stop our waters becoming the Wild West?
I guess that's for me. I don't have a crystal ball, but what I can say is that government and its agencies, in our case, the Marine Management Organisation, are very much looking at the sort of future monitoring and control arrangements. And for us, though, the most important thing is to get a deal that works. A sensible deal, a new partnership working relationship with the European Union, which doesn't lead to the sort of problems that you might be referring to. But looking at day one contingencies as we are, monitoring, control and enforcement is very much at the forefront of that. But we'll all have a responsibility. Government, industry, respective industries will have responsibilities to comply with the law that will be after we leave, whether it be a no-deal Brexit or whether it be a transitioned, managed Brexit. We're looking and planning for every scenario, but the fishing industry, those who import and export, and governments, both in the UK and in Europe and elsewhere, will need to play their role. All I can say at the moment is that we're doing an awful lot of planning to make sure that we don't end up with the Wild West.
Thank you. I'm going to draw the session to a close there. I wanted to just let you know that all of the presentations that you see today will be on the Seafish website fairly shortly. I'm going to thank all the gentlemen up here. I won't go through all you again for your time. And a special thank you again to Ursula Lidbetter from Lincolnshire Co-op for giving our keynote this morning. I hope you've got warmed up. We've got some great research insights coming, haven't we, after the break on what consumers are doing with seafood, where they're heading next and what the trends are looking like. So let's get back here. Shall we give you an extra 5 minutes for coffee? 11:35, and we'll start again with the next session. Thank you very much indeed, everybody.